The, and the other mic too. You want to take the mic for a second? There we go. Just speak into it.
We're going to go ahead and get started. We're starting a little bit early, but we don't want to waste a minute. So if we can have, we can shut the doors. We're going to go ahead and get started.
It should. We can tell. You can get up there if you want to.
We can do, okay, here we go. We're going to go ahead and get started. So after seeing the sermon, can you see now why we support David? Great job. He does a great job there. And he also helps give resources to other churches. So what we're going to do is Antonio Shapley is here, and Antonio does a lot for the work in Venezuela as well. And he knows David very well, too, and works with them. And Siania, too, his wife. So why don't you stand up, Siania, just so they can see you. That's his wonderful wife there who also supports him. So what we're going to do it a little bit differently today. We're going to have kind of a dynamic presentation where Antonio will ask some questions, I might ask some questions, and David will give answers so you can know as much as possible about the work in Venezuela. So with that, we'll turn it over to Antonio to get started.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Good morning. And we're both mic'd up. Can you test your mic? Make sure.
Hello?
Is it working?
What? Tasting?
Yeah, I think it's working well.
Okay.
So as Michael said, what we want to do is have an interactive session of Q&A. You might be very curious to know a few things about Venezuela, about how our brethren live there, about the conditions there, about anything that's on your mind. If you're curious, there's the opportunity to have David answer your questions. So with that, let's just get started. And if we want, what we'll do is I'll ask a question and then really, really want your engagement and your attention. So you ask a question. I'll ask a question. You ask a question. I got everybody's attention? How are we going to do it? I'll ask a question and then you'll ask a question. And I'll get up close to you so that you can get the mic. All right, so everyone can hear your question. So sometimes my question might be a little long. She has a question already. You're the first one up. Do you want to ask your question? No, it's me first and then you. Okay, but we got you. We'll be next. All right, so my first question, brother, is, and I'll hand you the, I know this one's pre-prepared. Otherwise, we haven't really prepared, I haven't really prepared him for the questions as much as you might think. It's because I wanted him to be surprised a little bit. But this first question, we already have a prepared answer for. And it's, what are the conditions in Venezuela overall as a Christian? How is life in Venezuela for our church members? And particularly all of Venezuela, but focusing on Barinas, which is where you live.
Well, hello again. Thank you very much for being here. And thank you for the opportunity again. And thank you, Brother Antonio, for being in this section today. Well, the first thing is Venezuela is a country who is in the top of South America. We are pretty close to Colombia by the west and Brazil by the south. And well, this is our flag, and we are actually from them. And as I said in the sermon, I am from the southwest, really close to the Colombian border. So my hometown is called San Cristobal, and then 17 years ago, I decided to move to Barinas to start to work with the church there because the church were started by that time in Barinas. So right now, the things are kind of different since 6 or 7 years ago, but the situation is still being tough for most of the people in our country, in our city, and in our church, because we are Christians, but we still being, part of our country and the challenges that everybody faces. But right now you can have an idea of how the people struggle in our country because the economy is really tough right now. You know, you can find food right now, and it's different from 6, 7 years ago, almost 8, when the people cannot find anything at the stores. The starving was really, really tough, but right now you can find food. But the point right now is that the wage that you got from the government in most of the opportunities and the times is not able to buy a few things, you know, because if you look at the picture, the minimum monthly wage are just $150 or $62. So the retired people who are like 60 years or more, are getting less than that. So it's hard to them to go to the supermarket and buy what they need for the week or for the month. Is worse too. So when you cannot have at home what you need to feed your family, it's hard, no, to find a way then most of the time to come to church too, because you need to pay for the bus, and you wanna offering some, and most of the time the people are not able to come to church. Even worse when they got sick, because if you are not able to pay for what your family needs for a month, you cannot be able to pay for a private health care attention. And the public health is really, really, really bad right now. You get into the hospital and they said to you that you need to, buy everything to take care of you. They said, well, you can come, you can stay here, but we need your family to go and buy everything to start to taking, care of you and put you some treatment. So we're still facing really tough times there in Venezuela, but we try to help as much as we can to our members so they can be able to come and to worship with us every Sunday. Well, there is an idea that you can, make a comparison between what a family needs every month to get just the basic things to feed their families, and to make you can make a comparison with the minimum wage for every month. So if you need $500 or $600 to pay for the food for your family, and your income is $150, it's really tough to be in there.
You're using U.S. dollars when you say dollars.
Yes, sir. We are using U.S. dollars, because in fact everything is, all the prices when you go to the supermarket is in dollars, and it's pretty weird because you need to do the conversion to bolivars. But everybody knows that everything is calculated in dollars, in US dollars, So, well, you can see, but this picture that just in this year is almost 200% the inflation. So that means that every time that you go to the supermarket, you are gonna find new prices, and your income is being the same thing or sometimes less. So,
if you would, David,
Uh-huh.
could you go back to that slide
Yes,
a
sir.
minute? So this is really important for us to understand. We began helping the work in Venezuela in 2018, the highest bar on the chart. This is an inflation chart. No other nation in the world has ever faced, I don't think it's true that any nation in the world in the history of mankind has ever faced 65,374% inflation in 1 year. I believe no other nation in the world, even Germany during World War I, World War II, I don't believe it was even that high. Someone might be able to go on Google and research that to see if it's true or not, but I don't think it's ever been faced by any nation in the world. And you might look at that chart and it's deceiving because you go, oh, it's not that bad. It's the reason the other lines don't look so high is because that 65,000% is so high. So if you took that 65,000 out, now the next year that was bad was 2019. That's 20,000% inflation. So it's almost unfathomable for us. We cannot comprehend how it is. When we were transferring money to the brethren, I had to tell them like the night before the money would fall into their account, brother, I'm going to send you some money, so that immediately they could go to the supermarket and buy that same moment that the cash hit their account. Then they had to go buy, because if they waited just one day, they were going to be able to buy like half or a third of what they were, just a couple of days, and they would only be able to buy, a third, a half of what they were, of what that money represented at that time. So it was very important to keep clear and constant lines of communication with the brethren. And even today, the moment that their money, when we send money to the brethren in Venezuela, hits their account, we try to tell them even ahead of time or right at the same moment, so that no more than a day goes by, so that they can go to the market and convert that to goods, to food, basically. Many of them, they use the money that we send them just to buy food in order to be able to get by. So I wanted to add that. And David, if you can keep going, I know you have a couple of more slides.
That means that every time that you go to the supermarket, you're going to buy less than a few days ago.
Yep.
And the other thing, or the important thing to say to you this morning is, as Antonio say, is the same thing with the migration. There is no country in the world that have the amount of people getting out from our country, even those countries in wars, is almost the same thing.
Like Syria, I think Syria might be.
Yeah, because Syria got like 6 million people out from the country because of the war, but we have right now 9 million, and it's getting worse because right now there are just 2 families recently. A few weeks ago, they moved to Spain right now. They are going to Europe because it's the easy way to get out of the country and go to another country, to try to be better with their families.
9 million people have left
Venezuela. Yes, sir. 9 million people left Venezuela times 8, 10 years ago. That's it. So right now, it's really weird because you can see supermarket like this in our country, that they are being run by maybe Turkish people or Arabs or whatever partnership with the government. So the food is coming, and you can find food, But the point is, if you are, able to go and pay for that food. Another idea that you can have right now is what means the effort from the brethren to go to the church every Sunday. So if you calculate this for the 4 Sundays that the month have, you need like between $10 and $20 just for pay for the bus to go to church. So sometimes we need to help some families to pay their bus ticket to come to church every Sunday, because if they pay for the bus to come to church, they are not being able to buy food for that week. So that is another, idea that you can have it for how they are struggling to come to church. So even if we take in our cars, we cannot take as much, as the people that used to come. And some of them come by their feet, They come just walking. They walk an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, to being with us, worshiping God every Sunday. But it's tough too, because sometimes you can face some challenges, walking to church. Some months ago, there were a lady or a senior person from our church, maybe 7 years, 65 going through church, and some person in the streets attacked them when she was going back to home, and she lost her ear, or they cannot hear anymore because this guy, spanked her by the street because they want to, take from her whatever he thought that she bring with her. This is one of the main reasons that we are doing more emphasis with the small groups, because sometimes we can just meet each other on Sundays. So even with the challenges is when we get most attendance. But during the week, it's better doing small groups. Because on Sunday morning, some of them can walk, because it's morning. And they have time, and they have light to come walking and go back to their homes. But in the middle of the week, when they are working, it's better when they can come back from their jobs and go to a house from a member who lives close from them in the same area. Yeah. So we now are trying to do more small groups in some brothers and sisters' homes, and this is working for us because we can bring and invite more people from the neighborhood so we can preach the gospel to them. And it's a pretty good opportunity to them to know church through these small groups, because sometimes people get a little bit, they don't want to come to church for the first time because they feel afraid of something like that. But when they know a home and a small group of people from the church, they feel more familiar first, and then they accept to come to church, and this family from this neighborhood can bring them to church and help them to come on Sunday. And then things start to work better with them, and we can preach to them the gospel and help them with counseling or whatever they need from us.
Okay, we have a question from the audience.
Okay.
But
I'm sorry.
she was first, so we'll go with the first. We'll go in line.
Thank you for explaining the economic impact. I was wondering, the government policies, how does this affect like an everyday Christian? Like, how does that affect, how to interfere with their spiritual life? In what ways does that interfere with them?
¿Entendiste la pregunta?
Sí.
Las políticas del gobierno. Y it's on the. It's
Yeah.
a great question because it's right there on the screen, right? And she did not get the question list.
Yeah,
Okay?
I know. Thank you very much for the question. Well, I don't know, but it's tough to get like a balance, because sometimes when you are facing this kind of challenge, you gotta feel more dependent of God, But sometimes you can think that God, forgot you. Yeah, it's not working, because sometimes you feel like when you are more seeking God, you are getting more resistance and problems in your life that comes because of the government, politics. So it's really tough. So we are trying to keep, giving them through the Word and through the Holy Spirit hope to keep going and helping them as much as we can, because you can feel sometimes, overwhelmed, because when more people come looking for hope, because the families are, broken up because this kind of problem sometimes. And so we are trying to equip new leaders every time, so we can go to more people to teach them, and they can, maintain their hope in God through these real difficult times. I don't know if I answered the question. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe not is like several like that, but when we are together, worshiping God, and when we are in neighborhoods, you cannot talk anything about politics. That is the key. They are gonna maybe come, through us if we start to talking about politics. So we don't talk anything about politics when we are together. No, not really. But it's better when you stay like away from all the things that are from the government or politics, because yeah. Yeah, you cannot complain yeah.
You cannot just don't complain. Like
Yeah.
you have to act like nothing is happening, everything is perfect. So as long as you do that, they won't come after the church. Or if they start doing that, like with the sermons or like the small meetings in the home, they will come after.
Yeah.
Persecution,
Yeah.
it will happen.
That's right.
At the moment you start complaining.
But the persecution is only if you talk about them.
Yeah.
It's not persecution about the Word of God. It's not like you cannot preach that homosexuality is wrong.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of persecution. It's all about them.
Yeah, it's you complain about them.
Yes, or the government.
Yeah, or-
Everything's fine.
If you make a comment,
Yeah.
you
There's
know,
no issues. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to keep. Yeah.
yeah, we're fine. So if you don't say anything about them, they are not gonna, come to you, come after you, and anything.
All right,
So
let's
that
keep
is like
going.
like
Yeah.
the deal.
Let's keep going. Remember, it was one question from me, one question from you, so I'll do it quick.
Okay.
There's a gap between what you presented. $162 a month, but yet we saw that a family needs $500 a month for basic stuff. How are you covering the gap?
So yeah, there is like you need to keep your expenses as low as you can, just trying to buy the cheapest things at the supermarket and try to buy the things that are not come from outside. So you go to the things that we still producing,
And my understanding also is that the gap is covered by family members outside of Venezuela.
Yeah. This is the other part, the people who are out from the country, like Venezuelans that are here in the U.S., they try to send money as, Cubans used to do it, and a lot of people to come to U.S. to work, or Central Americans that used to send money back to their families were not being able to come to U.S. and work, and get a better income. So that makes sense. 9 million of Venezuelans are out trying, to help the other, like almost 30 million still being on the country. So most of the economy move inside because of the money that other Venezuelans send to their families every week or every month.
Wonderful.
Just to
question
cover
from
the
audience.
basics.
How many churches of Christ is in Venezuela?
Well, I can assure you that almost one for each state. But right now, we can say that maybe 5 about each state. In some cases, we can find more than that, 10 in some states that there are, ministers that are very focused on evangelism. Yeah, there are like maybe 150 at least.
Yeah. That's what a number I was exposed to as well. About 147 was the last time I knew. Yeah, give or take 150. Okay, question?
Okay, this is, I guess, more of encouragement as opposed to a question. These are things I learned through small amount of suffering. Nothing like these people have, nothing. But biblically, you mentioned that small groups, they were doing a lot of small group activity. And the great thing about it is there's numerous advantages, small groups. You have more intimate, healthier friendships. You could be sharing deeper stuff that you don't want, Joe doesn't need to be hearing on the other end of the auditorium because it's personal. Maybe Ralph can help Edgar or some example. So more intimate, healthy spiritual relationships. Also, one thing I've seen, small groups tend to have more impact because it's because of the suffering itself. Because when you're like a family and there's 10 people getting together, it's a lot easier and a lot more, I want to use the right terminology, straightforward than having 300 or 400 people. Like, I can't know every detail about Mike Kersey's life or Juan Carlos, but if me and Juan Carlos and Mike Kersey and 5 other were in the same group, we would know each other and help each other more effectively because we're in our lives more. And the Bible says encourage one another, love one another, build one another up. This is all biblical. And what's going to happen is the United States, and I'm guilty, so I'm preaching to myself, my hypocrisy. We want it easy. We're an easy country, easy come, easy go, like that song goes from the 1980s. We like it easy. Good job, good money. No, don't inconvenience me. Give me the right hours of work. Even I have a job with Advanced Auto. Sometimes I tend to complain in my heart. No one knows it, me and God, instead of being grateful. Who am I to complain when someone about a rainstorm or maybe making 50 cents less than Mike Kersey or Juan Carlos? Who gives me the right in God to complain like a little kid like that? So when you deal with things more maturely, you grow. You become a more powerful church. You're going to have impact. Who's going to have more impact on people's neighbors? The people that love one another, truly love one another, or people that just meet and say, how you doing, Mike? I'm doing great. And the person doesn't want to share the reality because they're embarrassed or their pride gets in the way. So the great thing is a lot of churches are going to be a lot more powerful than us Americans who complain so easily. And again, I'm preaching to myself. It rains. Should I not go to church? I got a little bit of a cough because I ate too fast. Oh, maybe I should take a day off from church or a meeting with the brothers. Yeah. Or I have a little inconvenience that takes an hour. Like a little kid complaining, Mommy, I sprained my legs or I got a little cut. We complain about such little things. But who gives us the right when people can't even get on a bus and don't even know what food they're going to be eating the next? So we're so comfortable, but if we had Nero taking over, believe me, that would change a lot. We would undergo persecution, our lives would change. Just picture Nero comes to power. We complain about politics now, but let's say someone really comes and starts arresting everyone because how they look, how they feel about this, how big their eyes are, how big their nose is, how much money they make. We would be taking cover because we're not strong. It's like we're weak. We're kind of feminine as men. So it's a blessing in disguise that you're going to have a powerful impact in church because they're going to learn through suffering lessons that we have no clue in the United States. I mean, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Good comments. Brother, next question. So from the public, from the group here, get ready with your next question. So my question is now, how are you able to be so evangelistic? We've seen many pictures of your congregation in Barinas baptizing 18 people on one Sunday. I think 24 people in the river on another Sunday. What is your method of evangelism? How can you be so powerful with the evangelism?
Well, one of the things is what you need to do it when you want a thing to work in your life or in church, you know? You need to be very intentional, you know? So we need reminds about everything in our life, you know? So this is not the difference with evangelism. So we need to be talking about it, you know, and being very intentional about the need or the spiritual needs that the people have everywhere, even when we got good jobs, you know, good homes, we still being in need in a spiritual way. So when we think about it, we are going to be very intentional, talking to the church about the work that we need to do with all the people that do not know the Lord. Because even a very few percent of the country, maybe 10 or 15%, are better, you know, than the other rest of the country. But even them need God, need salvation, need family counseling, need their kids to be knowing about God. Because there are a lot of teenagers and young adults struggling, even like in this country, you know? So we need to be very, very intentional
So we have
about
another
evangelism.
question. Let's go by in order, and now we have a question over here on this side.
Not so much a question, but just something to realize. I follow a lot of pastors in China that come back and forth. In China, it's illegal to have a Bible. Just, you can't even bring it on an airplane. They check your stuff. When they go to sermons over there, there was 2 American pastors that left me weeping. They didn't even need to have a Bible because the people over there memorize entire books. It seems to be that how God says, pray for long suffering and things of that nature. The harder it is on people, the closer people get to God. The easier it is for people, the more we walk away from God. And that's why America, in my sense, really does need God's judgment. Because we don't, piggybacking off of what you were saying, we don't take it seriously. We could come to church whenever we want. We have the freedoms to. Every country that I see that is actually really going through it, it's very easy for people to come to Christ because of how hard their lives actually are.
Yeah, because they are trying to find, you know, hope, and they are more dependent of God because they cannot do anything by themselves, you know, about to be better in some way, in a physical way. And I'm not a little bit what are you talking about, because I have a cousin living right now in Wuhan. He got a scholarship in Venezuela because they are, you know, they do, work together. So they got a scholarship, and he is studying in Wuhan University, learning Chinese, Mandarin.
So related to the question about how you do evangelism, can you explain to us how the church is organized, what your plans are in the church, and also it's a 3-part question. I'm gonna, ¿cómo se dice?
3 en 1.
I'm gonna have 3 in 1. How's the church organized? What are your plans? And how many baptisms have you had this so far?
Well, you're looking at a picture, and one of the things that we do is go to community. Maybe Saturday morning, we organize a group like you are watching in the picture, leading by a leader, an evangelist, go with a small group and visit a community. So they try to find the homes that people are open to receive them, to pray for them, and they can give them a treat like Brother Antonio sent to us, you know, and they can pray with them, invite them to church, and even if they are able in that moment, they can deliver a message and they can invite them to church and watch if there is an opportunity to keep studying the Bible with them every week. So that is another good point. We try to be intentional, being, watching the people every week. So we can be consistently studying the Bible with them till they became Christians, and then we try to bring them to a small group so they can continue growing while the leaders keep going to them and their homes and study with them. This is the leadership group. So from them, we are expecting to have deacons and elders in the next 5 years. So there are three brothers, three men right there that we hope they can be the elders in the next 5 years. So when you prepare more leaders, when the men are more open in the church to grow up and be prepared to be leaders, to be an evangelist, it's better because you can go over more people, because for one person or two is just as human, you cannot, deal with more than an amount of people. And we hope to continue doing the local work. This is my wife, Siania, working with the women and even with the children. And at the right side, I am working with other congregations from the state, and I'm working with congregations from other states, teaching them about evangelism and other topics. So we want to continue equipping and developing other leadership and congregation of the state. We are working right now with 5 or 6 congregations from the state and from other states close from us. This is property of the church. We were able to buy that like 14 years ago. The owner gave us a credit for 5 or 6 years, and they sell it for very low price. So almost 15 years ago, we were able to buy it, but through the years and the situation, we were not able to build our own building. So we are hoping in the future, to have our own building. So for the brother Antonio's questions, this is one of the things that are working right now. We are encouraging our membership to bring as much as they can people that they know. So these people trust in them because they live together, in the same neighborhood. So they know them very well, and they know that they are living like Christians, loving the neighbor, helping the community. So then we accept to come to church. We have a really good welcome ministry. So we can offer sometimes breakfast for them. We can offer to them a little card with the information of the church and a candy. And we write down the data of them. So we can call them back through the week and see who is ready to receive us in their homes to have a study Bible. So this is the better way that we are doing right now, encouraging the membership to bring their family, their co-workers, their neighbors, people who trust in them, so when they come, we can contact them and do a work together with them. And I think this is the last one. Till this month of the year, in our congregation, 31 people got baptized, and almost 90 or around 90 in the whole state from the whole congregation. This year. this year.
In Barinas.
Yes,
Could
sir.
you go back to the picture of the men in the leadership, the team? Okay. So everybody knows, we are sponsoring David full-time from this congregation. And then 4 of the men that are standing there are being sponsored part-time with the funds that you give, partially with the funds that you give on Sundays. So formally, part-time, $50 a month, that's what part-time is. It's not much, and we could certainly do a lot more. David is receiving more of a full-time sponsorship from us so that everyone is informed. But they're not alone. This congregation here from West Broward, we are sponsoring total 17 preachers in all of Venezuela. So, and David knows them all. And so Juan Carlos knows them, other members of our congregation that come from Venezuela. These are men that are personally known to people of good regard, of good testimony, so that we know who we are sponsoring from within the contributions that this congregation does. So there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot more, but right now we're sponsoring 17 evangelists across all of Venezuela, not just in Barinas. But Barinas is our strongest focus, to be clear, because we have 5 preachers that were part-time or full-time. In the case of David, we're sponsoring from the contributions of this congregation. So part of our conclusion, starting to conclude, starting to wrap this up a little bit, one of the things I'd like to leave you with as a thought is, yes, we have challenges here in the United States, right? Especially with evangelism. No, we don't baptize 30 people in 3 months, in 6 months. So it's a harder mission field for us here. And personally, it's hard to invite our neighbors. Our neighbors are closed-minded. It's hard to invite our coworkers. They don't want to come even if we do invite them. Evangelism here in the United States is so difficult, right? We know that because of our materialism and many other things that we have here. However, why not use that which this nation gives us, which is good jobs, good cash flow, to then make things happen elsewhere with our money? We can be like, what's the name of the woman that was sponsoring in the Bible? What was her name?
Lydia,
Lydia. We can be like Lydia,
purple
who
business.
she did purple. She did
Yeah, that was very
cloth.
expensive.
She did cloth, very expensive garments, and she apparently was a person who made good money back in that time. And with her money, she sponsored others to go preach. We can be like her, and that's kind of my thought process. The more money I make, the more it allows me to sponsor more people like David in Venezuela. So if we take that thought in our minds, that's how we can play a strong part in what's going on down there, where the field is still ripe. David, you had a question, I think. That was the first bell. That means we have 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to add to what Billy had said and now what you just said, that I've been to countries where there's poverty, persecution, and people there are much more receptive to the gospel. So whereas here, it's much more difficult to evangelize. We can actually use our resources to go to places like Venezuela where with just the same effort as we would put here, they're able to exponentially bring the gospel to others and get many more people baptized. So I completely agree. Yeah, that's all I just wanted to add to what you both said.
Wonderful. And now I have a question for Juan Carlos. How do you know David? Tell us a little story about him. And and also introduce, maybe not everybody knows you, I think they do, but he knows David from many years ago.
Yeah, I'm one of the deacons. If anybody don't know me, I serve the Spanish congregation. I'm one of the deacons. This is my little brother. I met him when he was probably 7 or 8 years old. I constantly went from my city to his hometown. It was like an 8-hour drive going in summer to the youth camp because San Cristobal congregation was the one that did that by that time. And since as far as I can remember, every time I went to San Cristobal, and that was probably twice a year, 3 times a year, since I was 13, 14, till I met my wife at 23, 24. Every single time I stay at his house, I know his family. Their
founders of the church, like he said this morning during the sermon, 40 years ago. They're a very valuable family, not only for that city of San Cristobal, but I want you to understand this, all of Venezuela, 150 churches. I promise you, all of them know about the Sosa family. I remember when he was a young kid, when he was a teenager, we were talking about it last night. Remember when he was a teenager, as a teenager, he had this same passion and flame and need to go and preach the gospel. And I can promise you, there's nobody else that is better suited for this job than David. He's a great Christian. And I always say this to his mom and his dad. He's a Christian without blemish. He's a Christian without blemish. And he's very humble. He's been, on this meeting, he's been saying, oh, we, it's him. It's not we. It's him preparing that group of men that you saw in that picture. That's David. You can ask Sania. It's him. It's him sleeping a couple hours a day, preparing stuff, serving not only Barinas, but the whole state of Barinas and other churches in Venezuela, my hometown, my wife's hometown. We all, and we've been impressed with David since the last, I'm going to say 18, 20 years, because he's been an example to the rest of us. And when I was there, when I was a preacher in Caracas, in Barquisimeto, when I attended the national preacher meetings, we always had him in the highest regard, because he's a Christian without blemish. He's an example. He's one of the strongest and most hard worker that I've ever met. So rest assured that everything that we do to help him, it's been not only it's a blessing automatically for us in the spiritual sense, because there are people being baptized, but also if you think about investment, it's the best investment you can do. This is one of the best on Venezuela, he and his family. Thank you.
So do you see why we support him now? One more question, then I'm going to say a prayer. Is that Dawn? Oh, Tony? Okay. Well, let's see. I'll make sure we can do that.
Thank you. My question is, you were talking about the 9 million or so people who are supporting or sending funds back to Venezuela. Is there a restriction from the government as to how much money can come in? And also, once you make the change, El Cambio, do you get the US dollar or do you get the value of your local money?
Yes, sir. Do you want to answer? Okay. Well, there is a restriction, like in official way, to do a change, but there is a way. We find a way to do it, because sometimes there are some like people who owns like this kind of supermarkets or another kind of companies. So they used to have U.S. accounts, so they need the dollar to buy the products, and sometimes we do the exchange with this kind of people that we trust in. So we can do it like, as Antonio say, we send them dollars here, and they send us bolívares, so we can move forward there.
Yeah, the practical answer, I mean, honestly, there's no limit that I've run into yet. And what we do is we know people that have U.S. bank accounts that are Venezuelans, and they're trusted. They could be business people. I have personal contact with a couple of business people that we've done in the past, we've used in the past, and we deposit dollars in their business accounts. And since they need those dollars, but they generate locally, they generate local bolivares, the local money. But they need dollars. And so they can give us the bolivares in Venezuela, and we end up transferring the bolivares among Venezuelan banks. And that goes back to my comment about letting the men know, letting the people know that you've got money in your bank account now so that they can go out and quickly use it because of the depreciation of the money. And the inflation of, it's both things, depreciation and inflation are hitting them at the same time. So we have to draw it to a close. Just wanted to hand the mic over to Michael, and I think we're going to end in a prayer. But again, encouragement to you all to help us continue to encourage David and the missions, not only David, but all the other missionaries that we are sponsoring in Venezuela as well.
So we're going to say a prayer. I'm going to ask David to come over here. Thank you very much. What a wonderful couple. They're a lot of fun to be with, too. So, and if you have any questions, you can see Antonio is on top of this for us. And we're glad to answer any other questions you might have. So let's go to our Father in prayer now. And dear Father in heaven, as you look down upon us, we pray that we would continue to be blessed by you so we can bless others. And we thank you for David and Ciania, the work they do in Venezuela. And please help us to keep helping them. And dear Father, they're doing the hard work there on the front lines. May we be continue to be blessed so we can send them funds and encouragement and prayers so they can continue to do the wonderful work they're doing. And it's in your Son, and we thank you for Antonio too and his family and their efforts in being a liaison between us and Venezuela and keeping that work going, not just with David and Ciania, but with the other 16 ministers that we are supporting. Because we know, dear Father, we do this for your glory, your benefit, and the benefit of your word and your kingdom. And it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. Okay.
Thank you very much.